Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, Dira First. In today's video, I'll be talking about things that you should avoid in writing essays for scholarship. So this is like common mistakes that people often make during writing essays for scholarship. Alright, so there are 5 points, important points that I'm gonna deliver to you. So please don't skip this video and watch it till the end. The first point that you should avoid is that you should not make boring introduction. Well, there are some ways actually if you want to make your introduction in your essay outstanding, but then please make sure that it's not boring. Sometimes you tend to tell your story, your background, but instead of making it outstanding, it seems boring sometimes because so many unimportant points that you deliver in your introduction. You can use, for example, quotes or like motto, like the values that you learn, the values that you use to guide your life, for example. It's also a good way to use those points in your introduction. And basically, if you don't want to use like quotes or any motto that you have, you can also talk about yourself, but make sure that it's interesting. Don't talk about things that are not relatable to the scholarship itself. You need to be kind of picky about this. Don't write everything that you have. Just pick some of them relatable to the essay. Point number 2. This is also still relatable to the previous point, but this is more like you involve so many unnecessary details in your essay. And this is also another common mistake that people often make. For example, you have already joined a number of competitions, but it doesn't mean that you need to involve all of them in your essay. Because if you write all details in your essay, instead of talking about things that you want to show in your essay, sometimes it's like, leading towards something else, and of course you don't want this to happen. So if you have, for example, a number of achievements or a number of experiences in joining like competitions, seminar, internship, whatever it is, please pick some of them relatable to the context. Again, you need to make sure that it's relatable. You don't need to show off to the reviewers, for example, that you have a number of achievements, for example, because basically you can also involve these details in your CV. When it comes to essay, you need to make sure that it's really something that you want to tell more, something that you want to elaborate. Okay, so please avoid providing unnecessary details in your essay. Based on my experience, because I also review some essays for scholarship, sometimes I found that some applicants try to mention all things. For example, when they learn something independently, for example from YouTube, and they mention like the YouTube channel that they watch, well, this is actually no necessary, so please avoid this thing. If you watch, for example, some videos or you find some information for any websites, it doesn't mean that you need to write all of them in your essay. And if you want to know whether or not this is or something is important, the way you try to analyze it is basically try to remove them. And if by removing those details, for example, and you lose your point, then it's basically important. But if you remove them and it doesn't give any like negative effect in your essay, so basically you're good to go. You don't need to involve those details. Wait, before going to the next point, I'm gonna show you something. Apalagi kalau bukan produk terbaru dari Scarlett. Nah, ini dia kemasannya, cantik banget ya kan. Di dalam sini ada banyak produk, jadi nggak cuma produk terbarunya, ada juga facial washnya, ada serumnya, dan juga ada krimnya, krim malam dan juga krim siang. Well, ini aku pakai yang varian brightly karena memang wajahku nggak yang terlalu berjerawat, jadi aku nggak pakai yang acne. Okay, you can see this. Nah, ini dia. Ini udah berkurang karena memang udah aku pakai. Jadi ya, ini tuh favorit sih karena dia tuh ada rose petalnya. Nah, ada rose petalnya itu kan udah hampir setengah ya. Ini facial washnya. Nah, selain pakai facial wash, biar kulitmu lebih sehat lagi, kamu juga perlu pakai produk terbaru ini nih. Ini tonernya. Ya, Brightly Essence Toner. Nah, toner ini juga ada 2 varian, ada yang Brightly, ada yang buat acne. Tapi again, karena aku pakai yang Brightly series, jadi aku pakai yang ini. Lihat nih, ini tuh di dalamnya ada kayak butiran, kayak bola-bola kecil imut gitu. Nah, kalau dipakai ini juga ngasih efek segar gitu. Dan manfaatnya banyak banget loh. Kandungannya juga nggak main-main. Jadi dia tuh mengandung vitamin C, glutathione, witch hazel extract, jeju propolis extract, allantoin, niacinamide, dan juga grape water. Dan ini masing-masing dari ingredientsnya memiliki manfaat yang luar biasa. Gak cuma untuk melembabkan, mencerahkan, menyehatkan, dan juga bisa meningkatkan produksi kolagen dari vitamin C-nya itu sendiri. Jadi memang banyak banget manfaatnya dari toner ini. Nah, selain toner, ada juga serumnya. Serumnya juga yang brightly ever after serum. Dan kalau kalian pakai serum dari Scarlett ini kan bisa di layering kan, jadi kalian juga bisa pakai serum terbarunya Scarlett, yaitu yang glow thinning serum. Selanjutnya kalian bisa pakai krimnya, ada krim malam dan krim siang. Nah, ini dia. Jadi pertama, kalian bisa pakai brightening facial wash dari Scarlett buat make sure bahwa kulit kalian udah bersih sebelum kalian pakai produk-produk berikutnya. Nah, setelah kalian pakai brightening facial wash ini, kalian bisa pakai brightly essence toner. Ini kalau dipakai tuh seger gitu ya, jadi kayak ada sensasi beda gitu. Nah, buat makainya kalian bisa pakai kapas atau langsung tuang di tangan. Sekarang aku mau coba langsung tuang di tangan ya. Setelah pakai ini, kalian bisa langsung pakai serumnya. Serumnya tentu kalian bisa layering, karena Scarlett itu kan punya beberapa varian, atau bisa juga satu aja. Kali ini aku mau nyontohin yang layering. Jadi pertama, aku mau pakai yang brightly ever after serum. Ini aku pakai yang varian brightly karena memang mukaku nggak yang terlalu berjerawat gitu, lebih ke tinggal ngilangin noda-nodanya. Setelah pakai ini, aku akan layering pakai yang glow thinning serum. Jadi 2 serum sekaligus. Pertama, coba pakai yang ini ya. Oke, kalau aku biasanya kalau pakai serum itu paling anti kulit wajahku nempel ini, karena aku pengen make sure ini tetap steril. Jadi biasanya langsung aku tetesin aja tanpa harus aku sentuh atau ininya nempel ke kulit, itu aku jaga banget biar nggak nempel. Oke. Nah, selanjutnya tinggal diratain. Yang ini glow thinning serum teksturnya memang beda dengan yang sebelumnya. Yang ini putih kayak susu gitu. Nah, bisa dilihat ya, ini lebih pekat warnanya. Nah, selanjutnya kita bisa pakai krimnya. Karena ini masih siang, jadi aku pakai yang day cream dari Scarlett. Jadi kalau malam hari kalian bisa pakai brightly ever after cream yang night. Tapi karena ini siang hari, aku mau pakai yang ini, brightly ever after day cream ya. Nah, krimnya juga aku suka karena dia tuh nggak yang berat di kulit gitu. Makanya kalau misal mau ditumpuk make up itu juga hasilnya tetap bagus, dan kalau dibawa tidur, bangun tidur juga nggak yang kayak terlalu berat atau oily gitu, nggak. Nah, tinggal diratain aja. Oke, dan nah, kalau kalian mau pakai make up selanjutnya, bisa nih tinggal ditumpuk mau pakai bedak atau apapun itu. Yang jelas ini udah nyaman kulitnya. Dan terasa banget kulitnya tuh lebih lembab, lebih ternutrisi, segar juga karena efek dari tonernya itu. Pokoknya kalian nggak perlu ragu kalau pakai produk Scarlett, karena yang pertama dia udah teruji dari BPOM, dan yang kedua dia juga teruji nggak mengandung bahan-bahan berbahaya seperti merkuri dan juga hidroquinone, jadi aman banget. Bahkan ibu menyusui, ibu hamil juga bisa pakai produk dari Scarlett. Benefit lain dari produk Scarlett adalah flat price, jadi apapun produknya dari Scarlett itu harganya hanya Rp75.000. Kalau kalian mau beli produk Scarlett, gampang banget caranya. Kalian bisa cek di Instagramnya untuk lihat produk-produk selengkapnya, dan aku cantumin di link di bawah. Kalian bisa beli di Shopee, bisa juga beli di Line, bisa juga melalui WhatsApp. And then point number 3, too long. So yeah, there's so many applicants that write their essays, but it's like too long. One thing that you need to remember is that be concise. Concise here means clear and short. So like the formula is clear and short. Yes, it must be clear. You need to involve things that you want to show in your essay, for example, issues or problem solving or experiences, background, etc., etc., but it must be clear, and also it must be short. So by being clear doesn't mean that you need to tell everything in your essay. Of course, it's gonna be boring and you will lose the focus. So please just be clear, be focused, and it must be short. But short here is not like very short until you cannot explain the details. No, short here still, it's concise, okay? And so yeah, sometimes some some scholarship providers ask you to write like 2,000 words, for example, for one essay. Yeah, you can write basically like up to 2,000 words, but if actually less than 2,000 words is enough already, so you don't need to write like until 2,000 words. Yeah, actually 1,800 is also enough, or like 1,900, so it doesn't mean that you need to write until 2,000 words if you don't need to. The principle here is two things. You need to be effective and efficient. As long as it's effective, so it's okay to write like 2,000 words, but if it's not effective, it's too long, if you lose your focus, then just try to be efficient as long as it's still good and it's still effective. Point number 4. Another thing that you should avoid is being overlapped. This is also very common, that people try to tell many things and it makes their essay overlap. For example, you have already talked about your background in the second paragraph, and then you repeat the same ideas or the same points, for example, in the 4th paragraph or the 5th paragraph. So this is also another thing that you should avoid. You need to remember that the reviewers, they are like professionals. They read a lot of essays, so they can really understand which one is good, which one is not, which one is overlap, which one is not. So make sure that your ideas are also not overlap. And if you want to do this, if you want to avoid being overlapped, what you need to do is to make the plan. So you need to make draft, or you need to make the outline before. You need to know even from the beginning what you will write in the first paragraph, for example, the second paragraph, third paragraph, and make sure that no ideas are overlapped. And one thing that you should remember in this point is that your ideas should be progressing, meaning that if you have already mentioned one, you need to talk more about anything else. You don't need to repeat the same ideas. It must be progressing. Well, that's point number 4. And now let's go to the last point. Point number 5, thing that you should avoid. The last point is that you should make sure that you have already involved the implications. This is very, very important. Again, implications. Many people fail to show the implications. So, for example, you want to mention that you have a lot of achievements, but then you need to remember that in the end of the story, after you mention that you have a lot of achievements, you need to show the implications. For example, values that you learn from your journey to gain that achievements, for example, and also things that you learn from people, for example, during the process. So again, remember to keep in your mind that after you write something, for example, about achievement or about any experience, valuable experience, you need to keep in your mind that there is something. So what? So what? Again, if you have already mentioned that I joined international seminar, for example, I was awarded to be blah 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 and blah blah blah, and then so what? Like, what's the result? What you learn from the process, from the journey. It's not only showing off about your greatness, about how good you are. No, it's more than that. Yeah, because remember that if you talk about successful people, there's so many people inspiring out there, and of course you need to make it different by showing the implications. Okay, well, those are 5 points that you need to remember, and also things that you should avoid during the process of writing essays for scholarship. Okay, well, that's all from me. Good luck for your essay, and also good luck for your scholarship application. See you on top. Bye.